that power can be innocent. Power can be innocent. Power can be innocent.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
Everybody that I talk to is like, hey, are you more excited for Batman v Superman or Captain America Civil War? And practically everybody was like, Captain America Civil War, duh. Don't get me wrong, I'm plenty excited for Captain America Civil War. I just rewatched Winter Soldier, I thought it was great, I'm gonna review that in the coming weeks. But Marvel releases 2 movies a year and everybody makes it like they can't do any wrong. And I just want DC to have the day for once. So if Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice does not make at least $1 billion, I'm gonna be a little sad inside. Because it deserves to. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is awesome. It is not a perfect movie. There's little things that bug me here and there. You look at the marketing and you look at what it could have been, but these people who are giving it like mediocre to bad reviews have no idea what they're talking about and are just completely ignoring all the good that's in this movie, of which there is plenty. Jeremy Jahns said the pacing was really off, and he's like, all these things in the beginning waste time, and he complained that the big fight isn't until the end of the movie. And he said Godzilla was worth buying on Blu-ray. Chris Stuckman said the movie has a lot of story and narrative problems, despite really good action, and gave Mad Max Fury Road an A+, despite that movie not even having a story. Now, I completely ignored the Metacritic and the Rotten Tomatoes because Zack Snyder movies never review well, and I always I have not seen a Zack Snyder movie that I haven't at least liked. So it was when the YouTube reviewers started hating on it that I got a little scared. And then I saw the movie for myself, and I was reminded why I have my own YouTube channel. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is awesome. Terrible title, by the way. Dawn of Justice feels like the most just dumb. I hate subtitles in movies. I just hate them. Can't we just call a movie the movie, and not the movie, Return of the Movie? I think just Batman v Superman would have been a fine title. I don't think we need the Dawn of Justice. Right from the get-go, from the opening sequence of this movie, I was just so happy. It gave me hope that the trailers hadn't given away everything and reminded me that this is a new movie. It's a sequel. It's the next step after Man of Steel. This is gonna not go over well on YouTube, but you know the opening credits of Man of Steel, you know how it's like doo-doo-doo-doo, and it's like, you know, the logos are coming through the little, like, and it's the birth of Superman, and it's this triumphant music, and the font is the silvery kind of Man of Steel font, and it's like building to this like hope theme and this like starting thing. Batman v Superman, the tone of the opening credits, literally, I'm telling you, the font of the title card, Batman v Superman, and how they just, the credits subtly come on the corner during a little intro thing that it does. I don't want to give it away. I loved it. I'm telling you, the font of the words Batman v Superman made me like the movie. Because it is a different tonal feel, and there's a little narration from Ben Affleck, and it makes the movie feel a lot darker than Man of Steel did. It didn't feel like it was copying The Dark Knight. It didn't feel like it was the same as Man of Steel. It felt different, it felt unique, and it felt good. I can just see the comments now. The only guy who liked Batman v Superman said the font mattered. It's hard to explain, it really is. Like, you know, you watch Return of the King, like, you watch the opening sequence with Gollum, that feels very Return of the King-y, not very Two Towers-y, you know what I'm saying? Like, my biggest problem with Battle of Five Armies is it was more Desolation of Smaug. It felt like Desolation of Smaug Part 2, not Battle of the Five Armies. I'll get into that later. I'm sorry if that was confusing, It's a complex point to try to get across. But like I said, the opening of this movie is fantastic. It's the Metropolis stuff going down, and it's from the people, and it's more from the people's perspective. It's from Ben Affleck's perspective. The camera's going up into the sky rather than down at the thing. And it feels like 9/11. There's all these people just like looking up and being scared and like running everywhere. There's all this crap falling around. And it was like, it looked like a terrorist attack. Like how the laser is coming through the building and it comes down. That part is so good. And you got Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is insanely good as Batman. Anybody who says differently is a dork. Ben Affleck is old. Ben Affleck is bitter. Ben Affleck is hardcore. And Ben Affleck does not give a f***. I've only seen the movie once, and I could be still, you know, going off the, like, initial buzz of, oh my god, I saw the movie, but he might be my favorite interpretation of Batman. Aside from one thing that I think is spoilery, that I'm not gonna mention, that other people have mentioned, aside from that one thing, he's so Batman-y. He is like, I don't trust anybody. The whole pursuit and conflict with Superman is very Batman. It's like, go from the comics as like Clark's weakness. Clark could squash me like a bug if you want, but deep down, he's a good person. And deep down, I'm not. The fact that Batman has a contingency plan for every single member of the Justice League going rogue in the comics and the animated movies. The fact that he's so prepared for everything. Aside from the whole Doomsday is gonna melt me with his laser, I'm just gonna hold up my hand. That was the only thing I was like, you're Batman! Batman wouldn't take it there and die. Batman would try to get out of there. A couple smaller things like that, but on the whole, Ben Affleck, everything Batman in this movie. The new music from Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, great. Jeremy Irons as Alfred is amazing. Both of the Batsuits, you know, the regular one and then the robot power armor from Fallout 4 one. I love them both. I love the Batmobile. There's a lot of good shots of just Wayne Manor or whatever. They have like this kind of gray black building, like isolated out in this field or this forest, and it's just so like, I like how it looks. And shots of Ben Affleck, you know, like walking out into like wheat fields. It's the visuals in this movie are stunning. The fight scene from the trailer where Batman is Arkham sitting around the warehouse, that one gets a little like the camera's too close, the camera's cutting too much, it hurts my eyes. But the big Dark Knight Returns fight between Batman and Superman looks fantastic. The visuals and the sound design and the grit, and you can see Ben Affleck's like gritting his teeth through his suit every time he gets hit. And you can tell the first shot when Superman lands and it cuts back to Batman and you see the IMAX kicks in and you're like, here it comes, and the music's going like, tin, 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 tin. Oh, and there's like choir and drums and it's just the Hans Zimmer amazingness. It's like comic book pages visualized live on screen, and like that is what Zack Snyder excels at. People keep glossing over these aspects of this movie. Where it's like, oh, Ben Affleck was good as Batman. Oh, you know, the action was good. But here are all the problems. Like, no. It is so much better than you're making it out to be. It's an action movie. That's why people came here. That's the most important part, and the most important part succeeds. I will say, the final showdown between Batman and Superman is a final showdown. It takes place very late in the movie, and it's, like, flawless, aside from the fact that it's kind of short and abrupt. And I'm like, that was so good. I want more of it. Keep going. Come on. You're doing so good. And the trailers have kind of been selling that as like the back half of the movie, so that was misleading. I'd say most of the problems from this movie stem from the marketing. But the action is fantastic, and it's something you will just never, ever get from Marvel. Come back in 2 months. Come back after Captain America Civil War and tell me there were any action sequences in there as good as the fight between Batman and Superman. Say that to my face. And you know what? I didn't even mind Lex Luthor. And I'll talk about some stuff. I'll talk about that more in the spoiler section. I had a good idea, and I'll talk about that later, because I am going to do a full spoiler video. I'm going to get into all the nitpicks and all the ways I think it could have been improved, and talk about all the spoilery stuff. I would say the thing I don't like is his little, like, twitches and quirks that he does. I'd say, like, as a character, as a personality, I didn't mind that take on Lex Luthor. It is not the intense, intimidating, like, hardcore Lex Luthor, adult, mature that we might have wanted, but the Lex Luthor that it is choosing to do, it does well. Like, he has a conversation with the senator in a room, and he just like, you know what, that thing, I want that thing to change. And I'm like, I like that. That was really good. And I am very surprised to be saying that, because he was the one thing, I was kind of writing my review for the movie before I even saw a movie. I'm like, here are all the things I'm going to like, here are all the things I'm not going to like. I came out happier than I went in. I gotta say, he has a couple of cringeworthy lines. It's like, the red capes are coming. That was like, not a fan of that. Let me get back to Superman, you know, the second title character in the movie. I didn't talk about him all that much, but like he There's more depth with him going on. Like, even though he is saving people and is like, you know, some people think he's an alien come to destroy the world, and some people think he's the savior figure, even he is, like, kind of torn about that. And he's like, I feel bad. Look how I am affecting people's lives. He's like, I am not entirely sure if I'm good for the world. Batman v Superman takes place 18 months after Man of Steel. He's still, like, dealing with the, which father's ideals do I follow? And I like that. And then we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, is the whole Justice League tie-in and the whole Doomsday thing. Alright, here's my thought on it. Going into the movie, I'm like, alright, I would have preferred Batman, Superman fighting, and then Wonder Woman as a surprise reveal at the end of the movie, so that, oh, the Justice League's coming. And then they don't show that in the posters or the trailers anywhere. And I gotta say, regardless of how it ends up in the movie, the fact that they showed it in the trailer is bad. And I think people might not have as big a problem with it if it wasn't already spoiled in the trailer. I agree. I don't really like how Doomsday looks. I think he's kind of an uninspired creature design. The CGI on him looks fine. It's just the design itself that's kind of eh. But his place in this movie seems like a natural evolution from the Batman v Superman fight, which is orchestrated by Lex Luthor. I do feel the big battle with Doomsday at the end is kind of eh, and Batman does seem kind of useless there, which I was, like, disappointed in. Because the American public, the average person who comes to see this movie, who's thinking Batman versus Superman? Psh, Superman's a superhero, Batman's just a guy. So something the movie would have had to tackle with is, how do you make Batman relevant when there are people like Superman and Wonder Woman? And again, I'm a diehard, like, nerd, so I was already on board, but the average consumer isn't. I think the fight between Superman and Batman is very convincing, but it is then established that, like, Batman is kind of on a lower tier than these other people, and these other people could all just murder Batman if they want to. It worked in the animated series, but it might not work live action. So that's a future problem I think they're going to have to worry about later. And so I don't think Doomsday in the movie is as big of a problem, though Doomsday... So it's like the idea behind Doomsday I'm okay with, it's just Doomsday himself I didn't like. It's the reverse of that for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman and the other Justice League characters are definitely forced. Again, I didn't mind Gal Gadot's portrayal of Wonder Woman. I minded that she was in this movie. That is the point where, like, I draw the line. That's too much. Though, again, if you have to have her in the movie, it would have been better to not show her the trailers, because she appears early on in the movie, and there could be all this mystery behind, like, who is this? Even though right off the bat you're like, that's Wonder Woman. And it kind of ruins it for you. There are a few dream sequences with Batman, and I'll talk more about those in my spoiler section, but initially, I was like, that's cool, I like that. And then there was one where I'm like, that's weird and feels forced. And then the next one, I'm like, that was amazing. And it's like Batman plus Mad Max Fury Road. And it was one of the best parts of the whole movie. Regardless of how relevant it was or whether or not it felt forced, it didn't matter because it was amazing. And it's all done in one shot, and it is one of the most glorious sequences I've ever seen. And I also like that I didn't know about it. So unlike Arkham Knight, they're pulling from DC lore that I don't know, that isn't mainstream. It's like Arkham Knight, like, I already knew everything they were throwing at me. But with that same level of Batman knowledge, they were still able to throw surprises at me in Batman v Superman. So guys, in case you couldn't tell, I really like this movie. There were some questionable decisions and some room for improvement, for sure. And I will back up these points I've made more in the spoiler section, because there are some things I do. Because unlike the trailers and the marketing team, I want you to go in not knowing everything. I went into this movie very nervous and excited, with a lot of high expectations and a lot of worries, and I came out very, very happy, and I cannot wait to see it again. I'm not going to give it a number, though. I need to see it again. I need to let it think and process a little more, and I'll tell you back in the spoiler section. So thank you for watching, everybody. Go see Batman v Superman. Don't listen to the hate. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's not crap. It's good. Goodbye. God bless.